Okay, welcome back, everybody. Now, what we're going to do is talk about the commercial general liability, and we're going to talk about the two forms that you can have with commercial general liability. Now, the form that's used the most often is called an occurrence form. Okay, and then a form that's not used as most often is called a claims made. So I'm going to make this as easy as I can to help you understand the difference between these CGL commercial general liability forms. Now, when we're talking about an occurrence form, okay, so let's say, for example, we have a policy February 2nd, and just making this up, to 2020, and it renews on February 2nd, 2021. Okay, so we're going to call this policy year A. All right. And then it's going to renew. Okay, it's going to come back up. So the first policy is going to go February 2nd, 2020 to February 2nd, 2021. Then we're going to renew it on February 2nd, 2021 to February 2nd, 2022. Okay, so that's typically how our renewals go. Now, let's say that we have a customer and they come into a restaurant and they slip and fall. Okay, so maybe they slip and fall on April the 4th of 2020. So they slip and fall right here in this policy year. But, like a lot of claims, they may not feel like they're injured that much, but as time goes by, they realize that they've been injured pretty badly and they've got to have back surgery. And so they don't report a claim until the following year because sometimes things don't work, where you have the injury and then you report the claim that year, right? So they report the claim, and let's say that they report it the next year on May 2nd, 2021. Okay. Now, remember in another video I showed you, you have aggregates. So you don't have CGL limits that are starting all over again. So which policy year are we going to put this in? Are we going to put it in policy year A, or are we going to put it in policy year B? The occurrence form says that the bodily injury or property damage has to happen during the policy period. It doesn't matter when it's reported. Now, forget about statute of limitations for a moment. Okay. So when did the bodily injury and property damage happen? Well, it happened during this policy period here. So this is the policy period that's going to pay. So when you think about an occurrence form, you're always looking back. Okay. So for your state test, remember bodily injury and property damage has to happen during the policy period. Now, claims made policies, let's say that you have the same scenario. You have February 2nd, 2020, and then your policy goes to February 2nd, 2021, and then it renews on February 2nd, 2021 to February 2nd, 2022. Okay, now, what's different about this particular policy that the occurrence form does not have is each one of these policies has what is called a retroactive date. And this is the date that the company starts paying claims. This is usually the date that they started their business. So let's say they started their business February 2nd, 2016. So that would be the retroactive date. Remember, you don't have retroactive dates on occurrence forms. Okay. Now, when they go to renew, they're going to have the same retroactive date, which is February 2nd, 2016. All right. So let's say we're in this policy year here, and then the same thing happens. Maybe there was a slip and fall, and it happens, on April 4th, 2020 in policy year A, and they report the claim on May 2nd, 2021. Now, the first question you have to ask yourself is, did the bodily injury or property damage, okay, did it happen on or after the retroactive date? Because that's real important. So that retroactive date tells you when you can start paying claims. And it did. It passed the first test because the bodily injury happened on April 4th, 2020, which is after the retro date. And then the next thing is the claim has to be reported during that last policy period. Okay, so the claim's made, and so how I would think about that is the claim is made during the policy period. Okay, so in this particular case, it is, right? The claim is made right here in this last policy period. So in this particular situation, this policy year is going to pay. Because again, the bodily injury has to happen on or after the retroactive date. The retroactive date tells us when we can start paying claims. This is the effective date and the expiration date, but that just tells us what year we're in. Okay. And then when the claim is made is the policy that is made, which is pretty easy if you keep renewing it. But what happens if that client retires or that client goes out of business? Okay. Then what they have is they have what is called a basic extended reporting period. Now, this is free. All right. It is 60 days and 5 years, but it's worthless. They're not going to ask you that on the test, but it really is, because what it says is, okay, Mr. Insured, you're getting ready to retire. So you have 60 days to tell us anybody that you think will turn into a claim. And then if it turns into a claim, it has 5 years to do that. Well, they're not going to know everything out there that may turn into a claim. So that's why I say it's kind of worthless. But keep in mind, for the state test, it's a basic extended reporting period. It's free. It's for 60 days and 5 years. Most people, when they go out of business or they retire, they will get a supplemented extended reporting period, which basically says as long as the bodily injury or property damage, happens on or after the retroactive date, okay, then this policy will always cover it. Okay, so that's basically, what is saying there, that it has to happen, on or after the retroactive date, and then it will be covered. It doesn't matter when the claim is reported. Okay, it will always hit here, but you've got to buy. This is not free. You have to buy the supplemental extended reporting period. So a couple things to kind of wrap this up for your state test is I would memorize your occurrence form. The bodily injury and property damage has to happen during the policy period. It doesn't matter when the claim is reported. You're always looking back to find out when it happened. This is the way most policies are written. A claims made has a retroactive date. The bodily injury or property damage has to happen after the retro date. Okay, and the claim has to be made during the policy period, which is fine until you go out of business. And then you get a free basic ERP, 60 days, 5 years, or you can buy a supplemental ERP that you pay for that says as long as a bodily injury or property damage happens after the retro date, it will always be covered on this last policy period. Okay, so make it simple. This is a very complex subject, but usually the test questions are pretty simple as far as knowing that a retro date and the basic ERP and the supplemental are all on claims made, and also memorizing, this particular situation here. Okay. All right. So if you need extra help passing this test, keep in mind, I'm here for you. You can go to this website here, and it can count for any test. We have property and casualty, we have life, we have health, we have Medicare supplement. And so for $97, it will show you some things that are most tested on your state exam. You have 110 days access to worksheets, videos, cheat sheets, a lot of great things that will help you pass your state tests. And this will supplement, of course, your state laws and that type of thing. All right. Okay, guys, I'll catch you in the next video.